ICP, Internet Computer, building the Internet Computer, just a decentralized internet at a very general explanation. That's what they're doing. And I want to know what's going on in their ecosystem. So today we are having an interview with Ryan and Darren from ICP's Hong Kong hub. Basically, it's kind of like a college and incubator for startup applications in the ICP ecosystem. So we're going to go over what is ICP, what's going on in their ecosystem, and most importantly, what is ICP going to do to continue to grow. So yeah, I think you're going to enjoy this conversation a lot, especially if you have ever wanted to get involved with building something in blockchain or decentralized applications. And again, I'm Dan. Nice to meet you if it's your first time here, and this is just a very honest and casual conversation. I threw out all the previous questions that I mailed them in advance, and we just have a very real conversation, and I think you're gonna see that. And if you like the video, thumbs up. And again, this is not financial advice. This is just talking to people that are building something, and I want to know about their experiences, their perspectives, and what they see. All right, with that, let's get started.
Because I kind of feel like every chain, they're trying to create their own like wall garden, right? Mm-hmm. Like, okay, you know what? Whether it's the tech, whether it's the point of entry into the ecosystem, it's always like I need to kind of have a little barrier to kind of say these are my users and these are users outside my ecosystem. Mm-hmm. Right? It's no different, I guess, for any chain out there. But I think what we're kind of trying to do as well is, okay, well, with the internet identity, that identity gives you access to like every single product within ICP, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't need to like verify your wallet, you know, every time you go into a new DApp or like a new protocol. So it's in a way it's easier, but at the same time, it's kind of like you now belong to ICP. So welcome to the cult.
Mm-hmm. So I guess it's kind of like it's just getting those users in, and I think the hardest thing as a native crypto user is joining another ecosystem, setting up a new wallet. So there's always issues with like everyone in crypto is competing for the same amount of users right now until new DApp can bring in like fresh users that don't understand what any of the experience is like.
It's true, right? Because you kind of feel like liquidity right now, it's a PvP. Like we're in this kind of PvP environment. And you know, you're kind of seeing that transition away from like towards the PvE, but until that point, like to be honest, that new money, they don't care about that new protocol, right? They actually care about like, hey, do I trust myself or do I trust the protocol that this is going to be a simple, easy onboarding, and whatever you're creating has value to me, right? And I kind of feel like that has to extend beyond another DeFi protocol. That's going to extend beyond another like a GameFi, another social protocol. It's going to be something like it solves a Web2 problem. It doesn't enhance or solve a Web3 problem where I think the delta in the difference is like 1 or 2%. So I kind of feel like that's the biggest challenge. Like anyone who's building, like whether it's ICP, whether it's Ethereum, whether it's any other chain, needs to kind of pivot towards, right? Like else is like you're going to get the airdrop hunters, you're going to get the guys that are coming in and they're kind of taking value out of the ecosystem and not really staying there for the product, but they're staying there for the quick gains.
Right. People just want to farm, drain the rewards, and then move on to the next system.
Yeah, no joke, man. Like, you know, we're all guilty of that, right? Like, you know, you can say like we're here for the, as much as we're here for the tech, you know, we're also here for the money, right? And then like, how do you kind of balance that? Well, you got to kind of give the users what they want, which is yes, there has to be some reward, but there's got to be a reason to stay after you get that reward.
Right. It has to be a good user experience. Like anyone can create a Twitter, but maintaining that platform, you got to have users posting. People will have to be interested in it. Otherwise, it's not going to survive.
Exactly. Yes, it's like you can't. It's like most protocols, they give out airdrops incentives for you to use the ecosystem, and it doesn't really work like that in reality. The more you give incentives, like there's a quote which I go by, like incentives yield. It brings a lot of attention, but it doesn't really it brings a lot of attention, but doesn't really give retention at all.
Right.
So ICP, I mean, we're in it for the money. I mean, we may be giving airdrops soon, but I mean, that's reasons we
confirm or deny that.
Leaks alpha, got it.
we can neither confirm or deny that, Darren.
I mean, we see other people doing it. I mean, if
Yeah.
ICP does it one day, I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Right. Because that's how you attract users. You reward people who've been in the ecosystem, and people that are rewarded are happy about it, and they talk about it more. So that brings that social growth.
Yeah, true. All right, Darren's like, hey, I'm just gonna give you the best piece of news at the start of this thing. Technically, supposed to give it at the end, but okay, all right, I'll play with that.
cut re-edit.
All right. Well, introductions here. We're having an interview with ICP Internet Computer. I'm here with Darren and Ryan, and we're going to talk about what ICP is, what's going on in the ecosystem, and other stuff. Yeah, we're going to be all over the place here because I want to learn about ICP, the value from it, what's the most popular dApps, and I've used it a little bit, and it is very different from other ecosystems in a good way.
Yeah, difference good. Difference good, Dan. I mean, look, look, thanks for having us, Mike. So I think, look, quick intros. Hey guys, I'm Ryan. Along with my partner here, Darren, we're the co-founders of the ICP Hub, in Hong Kong, right? And I think, Dan, it was good to meet you in Taiwan, back at Taipei Blockchain Week, right? So I think what's kind of interesting is that I think a lot has happened for ICP since the last month. Right, so I'm going to not talk about the token price because I think that's what Darren is most bullish on.
I mean, that's getting a lot of people's attention. It's like, all right, what's been going on here?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, I think for us a little bit, like ICP has been one of those kind of ecosystems where it's like, look, we're gonna like shoot from the hip, right? Like, the price action has been pretty bad, right? It's been getting a lot of kind of that negative press. Like, people are thinking, hey, look, is this like what's happening? What are you guys building? Is anything being built in the first place? Right? Yeah. And I think for us, it's like, okay, whether this is to kind of, to make sure the audience feels like we're growing, but more importantly, like we're growing quite fast in the sense that we're decentralized in our growth. Like, there's 20 hubs around the world, just like what Darren and I are running in Hong Kong, right? There's 7 across Asia. There's 19 across the rest of the world, with 5 more cohorts opening up in Q1. And every single, hub, right, we're running like events, which is obviously for the awareness, but at the same time, we're running our own incubation and acceleration programs, right? So kind of what makes it exciting is that, for Hong Kong, we're doing hackathons, we're onboarding Web 2 projects, we're talking to other Web 3 projects to build, deploy, and really like create their protocols on ICP and grow that ecosystem.
Yeah, that's very exciting because a lot of people don't understand like how protocols grow. They raise funds, and then they have to use those funds to do these hackathons, find new dApps, reward them, and then those dApps bring in users, and then it's kind of the flywheel of like how these ecosystems can grow. So that's what you want to see with like a growing ecosystem. You want to see hackathons. You want them to see them aggressively growing that space out, so the new dApp that brings in the next generation of users can get into crypto.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think what's interesting also about the way that we run this model is, how like all these chains kind of talk about, hey, look, we're decentralized.
Yeah.
Right? Well, we're decentralized in practice in the sense that we know if you just have one foundation with one headquarter, whereas ours is based in Switzerland, it's hard to onboard good protocols based in Asia, right? It's hard to onboard good protocols in America or Latin America or even Africa or MENA, right? So our thought is, well, hang on a second, how do you really scale that growth? So for us, like, for example, if you have a great idea for a great developer or a great content creator in Latin, right? We have the Latin hub they can contact, and they can incubate you and kind of push you along that whole growth process. Right. If you're a developer in India, I think India is probably one of the most thriving hubs for ICP. I think we onboarded about 1,000 developers like in India over the last year.
Wow.
Right. And that only works if we decentralize our whole model of running this business. Right. So that every single hub has the same kind of KPIs, but every single hub puts in their, their local touch. Right. So that support that you get with the Indian hub, you get it through India. You don't go all the way back to Switzerland. And I think that's what kind of leads to the acceleration of our growth in the last year, because we have those local places, and you get in touch with the local leaders, and they help you grow with the support of ICP running in the background.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I love to learn about like what's going on behind the scenes, because that doesn't make it too much, or it doesn't get any of the trending likes on Twitter, so you don't see that.
No, well, we gotta lift the bonnet, right?
Yeah.
Today we lift the bonnet and see what's happening in the engine room.
So let me translate that for the US speakers. You got to look under the hood and see what's going on with the engine. So that literal translation of that.
So I'm Australian. So look, if you can't pick up my
sorry.
accent, I'm gonna have to throw some Australian lingo. And D's from like UK, so he's gonna throw some old English at you, Dan, today.
I'm gonna try to speak the international English now. No one understands Brits these days.
That's kind of true. Like the white paper of a lot of the technical information on ICP is written with the English UK in mind. So I had a lot of trouble reading it. I had to Google a lot of words.
Sorry, man. We got ChatGPT for that now, Dan.
Oh, actually, I did. I actually took a screenshot. Like I saw one of the tweets by Dominic, the founder of ICP. Super technical. I dropped it into ChatGPT. It's like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
Explain it like I'm 5, please.
Please simplify.
Yeah.
ELI5. Let's do this.
Yeah. So I think that's a problem with some of these very technical founders like Dominic or Vitalik. Sometimes you need a translator.
Oh, dude, like you know what I realized? Like in this space, like we started based off these technical jargons, right? We started with this idea of decentralization, but you know, this is a space that came about because of that kind of tech development background, right? And I kind of feel like we were really married to that jargon at the start because that's what kind of made us different from the whole kind of centralized space. But at some point, like that image needs to kind of tone it down a little bit, right? Because you know,
it scares people.
Absolutely, like people like you and I, right? People like you and I don't speak code. Right. So when people talk about like, you know, the coding languages, I care about this. I care about, okay, you're saying decentralization is better, but decentralization is better. It has to be not from a technical place, but in terms of what is the value that adds to me on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
And if that doesn't happen, then, well, unless I learn to become a developer, you're not going to get that adoption. So that 1 billion users coming on board, like people talk about, it's not about the billion or the million, right? It's just about like, does your mom and dad, does my mom and dad understand this, right? Yeah. Like maybe that might be the top, as if they start understanding language, that's where those billion users are coming from, right? Those who aren't scared to kind of get into blockchain because it improves, you know, whatever their life is, not because it improves the coding.
Yeah, and I think it's like some of the apps just kind of have to secretly be blockchain where like, they don't really know about it. Like let's say OpenChat, for example. Yeah. OpenChat is kind of like Telegram and Discord that you can use with an identity you create for free. You don't need any gas. So it's pretty much a chat app that is capable, that is built on the blockchain that you could use anywhere, that is uncensored, that is decentralized. You're not going to have these geo filters in certain countries where like, oh, I can't talk to this person because this app isn't available.
Yeah, I agree, dude. I mean, I kind of feel like the approach that, you know, we've been building towards is let's build something that the Web2 user or the everyday user is already familiar with, but you kind of take down the geo block, you take down the censorship, and you give them control, right? So like, it's good that you mentioned OpenChat because, you know, we've been doing things like Discover, right? Discover is like, you know, our Web3 version of Reddit. Right, we've got things like you know, D-Store, which is like the YouTube version, right? So the Web3 YouTube version. So a lot of the products that we were making is we understand the pains of the user, like in terms of how they're using the product. As for example, if you're on YouTube, right, there's certain content that you can't access, right? Same thing with like Spotify, same thing, you know, like with Twitter. And we're kind of saying, well, okay, why don't we take down all the problems that, you know, users are having with the YouTube, the Spotifys, you know, the Telegrams, or even like the Twitters, and then we essentially make an open, accessible version for any user in the world. And I feel like that would be the first step towards them going, okay, equal access to all the content. That would be something I see value in, and that will be something I'm open to kind of jumping onto Web3 because that's the delta in the value.
Yeah, and honestly, this is like the best time to build out those platforms because the user experience on X has just gone to shit. It's just full of ads, even if you're paying for it. YouTube, their advertising has gotten very aggressive where it's like, oh, this is a 90-second ad. It's like, oh, there's a lot of these.
Dude, like, I don't know about you, but like I've got 2 Google accounts, right? One with the YouTube Premium and one without.
You really need premium now. Yeah.
Oh, so true.
Yeah.
So true. Some of those ads, just like I realized like the first ad is 10 seconds. And then the next ad that comes in goes to like 20 seconds or 2 ads of 10 seconds.
Yeah. And it's like, you have to wait. You can't skip it yet.
And then I don't want to watch the video anymore. I don't want to watch the video.
The last 5 seconds, right? You might as well watch the whole thing.
Yeah, and like, oh, all right. And the thing that sucks is because I use multiple accounts. I have one, just for crypto. I have one for like my personal stuff. They're 2 separate accounts. I get premium. I kind of have to get it for both. I'm like, I should have. Otherwise, I reset my algorithm.
Oh no, dude, that's rough.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to get premium.
Oh gosh, but yeah, this goes back to how the ICP relates to like real world issues. So like we actually build applications for people to actually see issues with like data. So if it would be NNS that we have, why the internet identity is so good is that it doesn't really leave footprints. So the reason why you're seeing these ads and these ads tailored to you is because what we do when we log in, you leave footprints, and your username and password, you leave footprints here as well. So it actually gives a chance for hackers to take your data. So for the instant identity, it's actually you remain anonymous at all times. So you actually become risk-free of getting your data stolen. And I think privacy issue is something that the West cares about more. So we kind of eliminate this issue here.
Yeah, that's great. That's one of the reasons of decentralization. So we kind of just broke that down to like an actual use case. You're not going to be targeted with ads. Your data isn't going to get resold. It's just like, you want to use this, you can.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
Self-custody. People can obviously say, I got Google off, Facebook off, but I think nowadays people do want control of their own data. Whenever I open new emails now, and I have not signed up to any newsletters, for some reason, I get bombarded with so many shit. I don't even know how to get my email, and I just made it.
Yeah, that happens very quickly. I have like a burner email for like these situations.
So I think we could move on to so you have data stolen before, right? Hacked, anything hacked, social medias.
Yeah, have I been pwned.com? I was like, absolutely, multiple email addresses.
No, I'm just using Proton Mail now, guys. I think Proton Mail just kind of gets the job done, one and done. Yeah,
I might have to try that out. A lot of people have been talking positively about that.
Yeah, I mean, all these airdrops that I sign up for. Actually, I shouldn't probably say that, right?
No, it's all right. Like, you got to be curious. Like, what are they building? And that's a great way to get people to start using the ecosystem. Like, there's an airdrop. It's like, all right, let me try this thing out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's. I wouldn't say that's the secret to adoption, but you also kind of look at ecosystems, right? You go, well, how do you kind of bootstrap that liquidity? You know, and you realize maybe like for those that are coming in, like, yeah, there has to be an incentive, right? And probably 10%, 20% of these guys that they see the value of the protocol after they get in the airdrop, and then essentially they say, okay, well, I'm going to lock my liquidity into the system. And that's almost like how you can bootstrap that liquidity from day one, and I think ultimately that key question, how do you lock in that 10%, that 20%? Then that kind of goes back to what you're saying, right? Does this ecosystem, does this protocol create value that makes me want to continue using? And I think that's the challenge that we're always facing, and that's what we're kind of building towards that now. Like, we're not saying, hey, look, it's got great tech, right? Well, if it's unusable, no one's going to come use it, And we always have this idea, like, because coming from Web 2, our theory is always this, right? If you build it like a new product in a startup, if you have better UX over bad coding, users will still stay, right? But if you have a great development background, but you have really bad UX UI, users will leave. So it's almost like, what do you prioritize? Do you prioritize users understanding the product and getting to the aha moment? Or do you prioritize something like you said, right? You lift the hood and something's working well in the engine.
Yeah.
But the normies like you and I, we just don't see the value, and we'll leave the ecosystem.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some of the products, because I know we keep going to OpenChat because that's actually a really, really good platform.
Yeah.
Like OpenChat, you can send Bitcoin and Ethereum to other users within the chat. Are you able to do that with like other tokens? Is within ICP?
Yeah, it's we're putting towards that. I think for CKBTC and CKETH, so that's the equivalent of ICP. These are essentially our MVPs.
Yeah.
Right. And I think just going back towards that, and I think the great thing about what you said just then is, if we were talking from a very tech perspective, right, we'll be saying, you know what, the reason you do this is because like ICP runs as like a side chain for Bitcoin, and also is EVM compatible. But then most people are like, what the hell does that mean? Right? Like, okay, well, so what you're going to say makes perfect sense. It means that you're able to send these currencies, right, between users, right, on ICP. So basically, it puts the liquidity of Ethereum and BTC, gives it a little more utility.
Yeah.
So for us, that's our thesis of saying, yes, we believe in giving these like major tokens that flow right from one chain to the other. Now, if we see that adoption, then what we can do is that we can definitely add more tokens out on the ERC20 side. Like it gives us that gives them more liquidity onto the Bitcoin side, and vice versa, moving, let's say, CKBTC and moving that into the ERC20 ecosystem.
Yeah, so a lot of terms there, but just to simplify that, basically you can use a chat app to send and receive cryptocurrency with like a username, and it's a lot easier than, you know, having to use 0x 15, 16 different letters.
Yeah.
It's easier than having someone have to register an ENS domain, you know, Vitalik.eth, for example, but it's like a more natural thing. No, there's no more barriers.
That's it. I'm gonna like put it in one sentence.
Yeah,
it's what Elon Musk is trying to do with Twitter.
Absolutely,
but we're doing it.
Yeah, without having to go through all the different levels of bureaucracy to get that to happen.
That's it. I think that's the key thing, right? It's like we were able to kind of like deploy fast, right? Mm-hmm. Deploy fast, like test it out. If it's broken, we'll fix it, right? If it doesn't work, we'll try something else. And I think that can happen like in a decentralized manner, in the sense that, like, I think for us, we don't have the by one specific region or country, right? So I think that's the advantage of us creating products that people want to use versus going through all the red tape of, I guess, hey, is this a good idea? Can you run it? Can you test it? Can you get approved?
Absolutely. So now that we got like a little concept ideas, like what you can do with like one of the platforms from a high level, like what is ICP?
Darren, what do you think?
Big question there.
What is that? How much time you got, Dad?
I mean, we'll simplify it, you know, like it's a internet computer blockchain, but like just like the high level stuff, you know, and then in my personal review, I'll kind of dig into the details that probably the users are most concerned about.
Yeah. I guess you could say it's the only chain that you can say it's 100% fully on chain. Mm-hmm. So if you take for example, the GameFi narrative, when games are built on like Solana, they're not really considered as blockchain games because the only blockchain element of that game is just the tokens and a wallet connect. Mm-hmm. So can that really be considered as a blockchain game?
Right.
So whereas if you build a game on ICP, not just the tokens or the NFTs, but the storage, the processing power is built on ICP. So that is 100% a blockchain game. Mm-hmm. So this actually redefines what blockchain games really are. So this is how ICP is different from everything else. Ethereum, Solana, this is, I'd say it's a major component. It's 100% decentralized, 100% on-chain.
Okay, so just to break that down a little bit, ICP has all of this built into their blockchain rather than like a blockchain using another like provider and just having all these other providers in the way. So it just kind of simplifies the process, makes it faster, keeps it decentralized, and there isn't like those additional points of failure as you build on top of other things.
Of course, like Solana, Solana blockchain games, they rely on like, they're powered by Amazon and Google Cloud Services. So how does actually blockchain at all? Whereas if you build an ICP, you're just entirely on the ICP chain.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've been using a little bit of ICP and I kind of noticed like, everything is instant. I don't sometimes, just because I already have my internet identity, I can just start using it immediately. I jumped into something that was kind of like Minecraft. I jumped into some other like music applications, some just all over the place. And I was really surprised about the user experience that got me the most excited about that. So do you think we can walk through like the user experience of ICP? Like you're new to here, you're new to this world, you're in the ICP club. It's like, what are you doing?
It's a good point, man. I think to start you off, right, you create yourself an internet identity. So in a way, think of that as a wallet, think of that as a passport, think of that as an ID. And the good thing is that kind of gets you access to every single DApp inside the ICP ecosystem, right? So like you said, Dan, like you came in, you did this Minecraft game, right? You checked out the music apps out there. And so what's this shit? It's a ticket that gives you access to every single product in there. And as importantly, it's also a wallet, right? Now, the great thing is, like, once you load up your wallet and you want to go spend, well, your one identity gives you that access, into the music store if you want to buy something, right? Or the Minecraft store, like if you want to actually go purchase some of these like the packages. So I think step one is that you create your NNS, which is your internet identity, right? And after you do that, like the whole world's your oyster, right? The whole ICP world kind of just opens up to you.
See, the thing I kind of got lost on is like, where do I go to create this internet identity? I know some apps allow you to do that. Some make you just connect your wallet. So that's where I kind of like, I had to search through like different levels of things to create an account.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is the frustrating and the one thing about crypto, right? Is that you kind of feel like, where is that source of truth?
Yeah.
You know, where do I go? Like, do I kind of go A, B, C, or D? And I think from our point of view, that's something we're trying to fix as well. So I think quite simply, you just go to like if you go to Internet Computer, you just search for NNS, and that's your gateway, right? So that's essentially like if you want to transfer funds between like people, or that's all taken out of that NNS wallet, right? So like you say, from District on Twitter, they take funds out of that wallet. You don't need to go to have another bank account set up, right, to do that transfer. If you want to go like play any games or like connect anything, again, that's your one identity for the whole ecosystem.
Right. And to fuel your wallet, like you need ICP to pay for gas fees. For the dApps that require it, a lot are gasless. I'm going to use the word gasless because you guys don't use that word. Use a more technical word. But basically, you don't have to pay any fees to use some of the applications on ICP. Now, the user experience of like bringing ICP on, there was only like two methods, either Coinbase or, buying it. And that wasn't buying ICP directly onto there isn't available for a lot of countries. I think it was India, but just India. But bringing in ICP from Coinbase was easy and almost instant. It was zero fees. I was very surprised about that.
Yeah. I mean, like, so they like, I think Darren's like a lot of research on the whole reverse gas model, right? And then reverse gas is that technical term we use for gasless, right?
It's like prepaid gas.
Yeah, we call it the reverse gas because it actually goes against the traditional way of how other protocols do it. So every time you interact with the wallet or you actually do a computation, the user has to pay something. Right. If you pay a lot, sometimes up to $30 gas on other like layer twos, they say they're close to gasless. I mean, you pay close to zero, but you're still paying something.
Right.
But what makes ICP really stand out is that you're actually playing zero.
Yeah, and you don't have to like press any buttons. It's just like it's done. It happened.
I think this is actually a way to onboard new users from Web 2 to Web 3 because for them it's like, why is there a gas fee here? Why should I pay for it?
Right.
It doesn't really make sense. It's like when you play GameFi games. When you do something on chain, the user has to pay. It's like I'm just trying to play a game, but every time I do something, I have to pay. It doesn't make sense.
Right. It is a barrier to entry. Like even if like a game is $1 on the App Store, I'm like, I don't know. I got $1, but I was like, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it.
It's not that we're cheap. It's just that I don't want to pay. It doesn't make sense. We're not used to paying these things.
Right. Well, exactly.
I'm cheap. I'm sorry. Well, no. It's to your point. Like, this is a theory, right? Like, Dan, if you go to a store and you buy a product, right, you don't pay for the store's electricity or gas or lighting. Right? Why are we asking our users to do that? Like in Web3, or for example, if there's a hike in the electricity, the consumer doesn't go to the supermarket and go, "Oh, your product's more expensive now because
like a little extra tax there." Yeah,
exactly. Right? Like we get it. Like it became the status quo because of how I guess we built the whole ecosystem. But it doesn't mean that it can't be challenged or that it shouldn't be righted, right? And like you said, you had a really good point. Like it breaks the user journey, right? Let's say I want to use a product and I came in from Web 2. Oh, geez, like if I don't have gas, I'm not going to like engage with any of these protocols. And my, I guess, aha moment with any protocol or with ICP ends even before it starts, right? So for us, it's like the model is, yes, it's not gasless, just to be fair. Right. The protocol pays for the gas, right? So if you're a DEX, you're like a social media platform, like social platform, you actually will bear the cost of the gas. But the good thing about this whole process is if the gas cost goes up, it shows that you have, hit your product market fit, right? So it kind of goes hand in hand, right? As in, hey, look, if you don't have product market fit, you don't even worry about gas in the first place. But if you have product market fit, well, then the spending and the transactions by your consumers would surely, right, like equate or be more than the cost of gas.
Right.
You have a good product.
Right. It's pretty much the same business model a lot of apps have that use like Google services. Like if they have a Google map built into their application, they have to pay every time someone uses that map. So using that model makes sense. It's like it's a working model. Like you only have to pay more if you're making more because people are using it.
Right, because that's, I guess the question is, it's how you scale, right?
Yeah.
Like when you scale, the cost of scaling should not be burdened by the user. The cost of scaling should be burdened by, the business.
Yes.
And ultimately, it just comes down to, well, how good is your business model? Because if you can't scale, there's a bigger issue there,
Right. So speaking of that, like how are these applications making money? How are they being sustainable? How are they going to survive until they can, get to that product market fit? Like just generally, how what does that look like?
Yeah. And this is something that we've been working on with a lot of the products we're talking to in Hong Kong. But the key challenge is like to take it back a step, right? How many products, like even in the existing blockchain ecosystem, have found a product market fit? Right.
It's not much.
It's like I can do one hand. I can literally go one hand. Like I'll name like 3. Let me know if I miss something. Like I think Uniswap.
Uniswap, yeah. I was gonna say that they have like a $2 billion treasury right now.
They got some money. They got some cash. Make a DAO. That makes a bit of sense as well.
Yeah.
Right. Like Frax. Right.
USDT.
USDT. Right. So what it kind of feels like is the narrative that kind of come along is these guys are almost like, I always say this, there's 2 ways of product market fit, right? You either you create a new revenue stream on chain, which is hard, right? That's like a Uniswap model, or you tokenize an off-chain like revenue, and you take an off-chain revenue and you tokenize it, like kind of what MakerDAO is doing, right? So I think for a lot of products, that product market fit, like there's a question that they haven't really thought about yet because they're almost in the hype cycle of saying, I want to create and deploy something. So what we're kind of saying to these guys is when we say, look, when you build a product, what is your roadmap, right? What's your revenue model?
Right. That's the most important thing. Yeah.
That's it. Like if you're not thinking about your revenue model, what you're essentially doing is that you're essentially just like using the grants that the ecosystems give you, right? To just create something until that money runs out and you realize, oh crap, like gas fees aren't going to cover it, right? There's not enough transactions because there's not value in the protocol. So what do? And I think that's something in DeFi, like the foundational things is if you create a good DEX, if you create a good money market, there's always going to be a business model there. But if you create something like say GameFi, like D, what do you think? Like what is a GameFi revenue model that actually makes sense to sustain?
That's the hardest thing because like the token always dumps after everyone like pumps the value, extracts the value from it.
That's it.
It goes back to what I said. Incentives. It does bring users. It brings out attention, but there's no retention afterwards. So we shouldn't really be giving out incentives at all. It should be based on the product. The product, if it's good, then people will spend regardless. So it's like the reason why people buy console games because you buy for the experience. It's more like return on the entertainment rather than return on investment.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's like why people, buy video games or go to the movies when, they could watch any other movie at home for free.
Yes, of course. So it's basically, so if the product is good, you spend regardless. You don't really care on what other utility it's supposed to have. It's actually subjective. If it's good enough for me, I'm going to spend regardless. If I see a long-term value in this game, a long-term ecosystem, I'll spend even more because I want to be better at the game. I want this to be like a social game. I want to share with my friends, and then they'll have a social effect. They'll bring in their friends as well.
So as guys at the forefront of these ecosystems and trying to grow them, how often do you see that problem of founders not thinking that through?
I think it's not that not thinking it through. They know it. They refuse to face it, and they see the short-term value only. Because if you think about it, if you're honest in blockchain, how many projects last more than a year?
Not a lot.
Yeah. I mean, like how many GameFi projects are there? Like there's probably like 100 that raises like the minimum soft cap. But even though they raise, how many even launch? And when they launch, how many last after a year? None, right?
They keep extending and extending, like, soft beta, alpha, and then I was like, oh, give us a little more time.
And then it's probably the same founders. They say we're creating another game now, and it's like, oh, what happened to the previous game?
Yeah, it's because like, that ran out of money. New project is gonna gain some money.
Shiny new ball. So real talk, guys. I kind of feel like there's 2 challenges for any ecosystems right now. One is that we are very much in love with the developer metric, right? How many developers is on the ecosystem? And I think that needs to be rebalanced. And it can be rebalanced by, I guess, connecting the great, I guess, developers with the entrepreneurs, right? So one thing that we see a lot is when you have so much emphasis on developers, what you're creating is a copy pasta or a fork, right, of what exists. And
yeah, that's most of all new DeFi platforms.
It's just a copy pasta, right?
Yeah.
It's painful, right? As in, yes, you get more developers, you get more protocols, but you're essentially it's self-cannibalization, right? You're just eating a share from a product that's already in the ecosystem because you're not having any like a level of innovation.
Yeah, you're not bringing in new people.
There you go. And I think the challenge that we've already seen a lot is that developers can execute, but again, that's table stakes. You're supposed to execute, right? What you need to do is that you need to basically connect them to the great, I guess, the entrepreneurs with a real problem, right? Like I'm excited to talk to guys with a problem, but they say, I don't have the team to execute, right? That's fine. We can marry those two things together and those two problems become a solution, right? But when you have people that execute, but without an idea that, you know, when you think through about your product market fit, you think through your business model, you think about your revenue model, well, then it looks great on the optics wise that the ecosystem is growing, right? But like Darren said, that's a 6-month play. That's a 12-month play, right? The transparency of the failure or the lack of success is so easy when you check out things like DeFi Llama, when you say, okay, well, there's no TVL. Why is there no TVL? Because it's the same product.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like to grow, that conversation, like from an ecosystem point of view, is to help entrepreneurs create that MVP.
Yeah.
And that can be done by bringing them with the great developers.
All right. So just for an example, let's say there's an entrepreneur out there. They have a great idea. It's everything's thought out through.
Yeah.
They don't have a team of developers to make any of that happen. Can they go to an ICP hackathon and present that?
Bingo. You got it in one, dude. You got it in one, right? So we add a stage to a hackathon, which is called the Ideathon, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
That's what we're actually most excited about, right? We're excited about the ideas. Like for Darren and I, we're ideas loyal, right? Like you got to ask, oh, this problem exists in Web3 and it's not being solved. Our first question is, okay, well, do you need a blockchain? Right? I mean, I think that's the common question. Do you need a blockchain solution? Because if you do, then it goes to the execution level, right? We are training developers. And like I feel like in India, we've got over 1,000 developers qualified in like last year, right? Bringing good developers is table stakes. Getting them to create with an entrepreneur to create a product, that's the goal.
There's always like these typical problems people are talking about, but no one taking the initiative to like flush out these ideas and like what's an hack plan to actually make this problem go away.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, like these ideas are they're more exciting, right, than someone creating another SocialFi or another like DeFi product.
Yeah, because it opens up the world. Like you can just have an idea and make something happen. I didn't know that was even possible in crypto. Like I thought you really had to have a team, you had to have a developer background, and I think a lot of people think that too. Yeah,
I mean, look, we're always chasing the unicorn, right? We're chasing the unicorn of the developer with a fantastic idea, right? And that's hard, right? Because like most of these guys that you're talking about, like, you know, so I don't want to generalize, but like a lot of developers you talk about, like they're great at just getting shit done. Yeah. And I respect that because you got completely get the shit done. But you also get the guys that's out there kind of saying, look, I'm interact like you, Dan. Like, you know, you see different protocols, you interact with different things, you see problems, right? And you're there to kind of challenge the status quo. And that's essentially the people that you need, right? Because we can always bring you the execution ability, right? But like as a hub, as an ecosystem, we're not there to come up with ideas for you to build on. Right. So I think that logic of ecosystems to bring in the great ideas should be at the forefront, in addition to working with bringing great developers at the same time.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that you guys are, you know, taking a chance. Like, all right, we're just going to hear ideas, because everyone who's bringing a product to us is the same iteration. They're just forking it, renaming it, rebranding it, and you know, I've seen that everywhere. So can we talk about some of the dApps on ICP that you guys are excited about that you can talk about, or things that are coming up in the ecosystem?
Yeah, sure. D, anything that excites you right now?
I'm excited for things that are coming onto this ecosystem, but currently for the current ones, I'll let you talk about this one. I'll talk about the ones upcoming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I think Dan, like, I kind of want to go down a list of like things that we've already built with the ethos of challenging the Web2 space, right? So like if you're a Medium user, we got a product called Nuance, right? If you're a Reddit user, we got a product called Discover, right? If you're Spotify, like you said, the music store, we got something called Canon Store. YouTube has a version for us called like D-Social, right? Twitter is like District. So you kind of see the trend here, right? Is that we look at the Web2 products that are successful, but are broken in terms of the user experience, and we want to kind of move that, on chain. But I think as important, like what Darren says, is this is just the very tip of the iceberg for us, right? So if you look at the ICP ecosystem right now, there's roughly about 20 to 30 good products out there. But what we have been building in the last year with all these incubation hubs is that we're in the process of pushing out 300 more DApps, right, in this bull market, right? And that's the thing that we're most bullish on, is that, like I said, we come with this ethos of saying, one, create from a problem. So essentially the solution adds value, right? It doesn't just fork something. And two is that the dApps that we're releasing, they have a regional flavor, right? So you're going to get dApps coming out of Latin America that are addressing whatever social, whatever like economic, whatever like, I guess, user experience problems there. You're going to get dApps coming out of India, you're going to get dApps coming out of Europe. And that's what it kind of excites me, is that if you want to cater to a global user base, sometimes the problem needs to start local before you kind of scale it to a global level. So of these dApps coming out, you're going to see a product market fits that might be adopted faster, like maybe in the Latin region, or some might be adopted faster in the Asia, like in the Asia Pacific region. So that's something that I'm actually really looking forward to in the next 6 months.
Dan, are you into NFTs by any chance?
NFTs that hold value, yes.
Okay, so NFTs that hold value is all about the narrative, right? What's happening now. So you could see that BRC20 is the new narrative and inscriptions. You could see the latest marketplace that got built on ICP is Bionic. So it's 100% ICP, no gas fees, no network fees, and it's all supporting the ordinals as well. So if you're into like short or long term things that make money, this is something you can look at.
Okay, I'll take a look. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I love trying out things in the ecosystem just to see how it works, how it feels, the user experience, because that's the biggest thing lacking in crypto. Like the user experience is only for very experienced crypto users and not for the generic person coming from Web 2. So any other protocols besides inscriptions, things you can talk about? Or it seems like you hinted at some big platforms coming into ICP later this year.
Yeah, I think the play for us as well is, like, we realized two things into the adoption, right? You get adoption from a retail level, and that's with the DApps, right? But you also need adoption from that institutional level, And the way that we kind of position this is like taking even like DeFi, like as an example, is like with the ETS being approved, right? And with the bigger boys kind of wanting to jump in the space, we kind of see like DeFi bifurcating, right? You're going to get this sandbox of like this whole permissionless, fast experiment, easy to innovate place. And that's the DeFi that we know it as, right? But when you talk to guys like the JP Morgans, the Goldman Sachs, they want to come in, they don't want that, right? They don't want to what in their eyes looks like a cowboy town, right? They probably want to run a more kind of permissioned.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's something that we're also creating with our own subnets, right? So we have the subnets where, yes, it is permissioned, it's a private chain, and it's think of it as a sandbox for governments, for corporates, for financial institutions to come in and just use blockchain because of the tech, right? And not because of the speculation. And I think that's something that kind of excites us a lot, in the sense that when these guys come on board and they want to use it for the ledger, they want to use it basically for, into the storage, into the computing, right? That's the real value of blockchain that we've been preaching for the past 10 years. And that's the actualization of that concept into a working model.
All right. So just to break that down.
Yeah.
So ICP has this blockchain, everything like gets verified on there. And then the subnets are separate blockchains that work independently that still use the consensus mechanism of the main blockchain.
Yeah.
So there are. I wasn't familiar that there were different subnets of builders. Like what's going on there?
Yeah.
Can you talk about some of the other subnets that are like kind of interesting?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, so we've always taken this approach, right? Where like when it comes to adoption, right? What do you onboard? Do you onboard the B2C or do you onboard the B2B? Right. So what we've been doing in the last basically like 2 years is that we've been onboarding a program called Federal Italy. Federal Italy is basically an association out of Italy, the government. where they want to verify, hey, look, any product that is made in Italy, how do you verify, that it's from there, right? So that's where the blockchain, the whole process comes in. We're actually just in recent negotiations out of India, where the government is actually going to use, where one of the regions in India, the government is going to use the ICP blockchain to basically verify all the transactions that are happening for that region, right? So that's what excites us, is that kind of institutional adoption is you verify or you validify the tech, right? Not just, hey, different concepts of how you can use the tech to speculate.
That is awesome. I did not know about that. How can people learn about these types of news events?
Yeah, dude, just follow us, Divinity, right? Divinity is probably the Twitter is probably the best way to do it. We hold our our bi-weekly kind of spaces, and I think that's the exciting thing about us is you said a really good point there, Dan. Like, we don't know about it, right? That the public doesn't really know about what's going on.
It seems big. Like the Italian and Indian governments are using ICP.
There you go. That's like 2 apples dropping today, right? No, we just had a town hall with all the ICP hubs yesterday, and the one thing that we realized is that I think for all the hubs, we've done a fantastic job in the last 6 to 9 months in terms of development, into the progress, right? But to your point, Dan, crypto Twitter, right, or just the whole space really doesn't know what's been happening inside ICP. Yeah. So one of our plans is we're going to be holding these kind of fortnightly town halls, right, where Divinity, the hubs, will basically update the whole community about, hey, what we're building, what we're doing, right? And this level, we want to give you that transparency because A, we've been doing some great shit, we're doing some really exciting shit, but B, I guess from a progress meter, we want to move that needle, right? And if we realize the institutional play moves the needle, fantastic, we're still doing that. If we realize it's great dApps being produced, right, that's something else that we want to basically shout out loud because I feel like we're doing a good job.
One note I'd love to recommend is after that town hall and that public recording, just notes. A lot of people don't put the notes of what happened, so you have to listen to it for an hour, but some people might not listen to it. So having those notes is going to get a lot more exposure to what's happened.
Oh, I like that. I like that. We'll hire someone to basically put out the key points, right?
Exactly.
First, action points next.
Yeah. Even with time codes, maybe they're all right, I'm interested in this. I'm jumping straight to it.
Oh, I like that. That's very YouTube style, Dan. I love it.
Yeah. Because I want to get information as fast as possible. Sometimes if I have to listen to a Twitter space, I'm all right. I'm very hesitant. Yeah. So Darren, any other exciting projects coming down the line for 2024 in ICP?
We did have a 20 million incubation grant. So we do have a lot of projects coming in, a lot of people with new ideas, not just forks of different protocols, but really good ideas that will stand out in the market. Since we're there in the middle of incubation, we can't reveal them just yet, but probably in the second part of a video review, Dan.
So anything else you guys want to recommend? We've gone almost an hour now, but this was a great chat because, we broke things down. We got things mostly from the user experience. We didn't get too technical, and it's just what people can kind of expect from ICP.
Yeah. I mean, I think we pretty much summed it quite well, Dan. I mean, what we were excited about at the start, when we first joined ICP and we heard about this whole, you run a hub, right? You're like, why? Right? Wouldn't you just go back to Divinity to get things done? And I think having being in this playground for about ICP for about 3 months, we start realizing the value. When you engage with the local community, we engage with the local developers, we engage with the local the entrepreneurs, right? They actually they care, and they feel like you care because you give them the time of the day to listen to their problems and create solutions that you understand because you live and breathe in this country or in this city, and I think that could ultimately be the differentiation in terms of how ecosystems can grow. I think having that local support, that boots on the ground, it kind of gives that region the support to say, hey, listen, ICP is here, right? The support is here, and I want to work with you guys. Rather than where you see a lot of projects come in, they do a hackathon, they do an event, and then they kind of just go away for a year.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of the common way. And then you're working remote, you wait on answers. It's a very slow process. Just having that regional presence is pretty big. I'd love to talk about hubs just to break that down. So for people that don't understand what a hub is and what they do.
Yeah. Hey.
So a hub really tailors towards the local market. So Ryan and I, we actually focus on Hong Kong, Shenzhen, the Greater Bay Area, because one, we speak English and Chinese, so it makes sense for actually to talk to the community. Because you see a lot of the, especially technical jargon, it's not really translated in Chinese. You need to actually speak the culture as well. Different cultures, they tend to have different interests. Like if you look at inscriptions, if you go to Google and look at and type it in, you don't get to see much of the SEO on inscriptions. But what really brought the market on inscriptions, ICP, Avalanche, on Nia, it's actually the Chinese market. They're really into inscriptions BRC20. So each hub focuses on the different cultures of that particular region. So this is why it's actually a very perfect way of doing this. So like Vietnam, that's coming up. They'll focus on that region. China, ICP Hub will focus more on mainland. UK, USA, they will focus on their own different markets. So this is a very good decentralized model of doing this.
Awesome. So just to simplify it, just a couple of words, these hubs are kind of like an incubator or college for anyone that wants to get involved and grow their project in ICP.
Yes.
Oh, I like that. The college
Yeah.
of incubation college.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of like Y Combinator, but a little education too, because people want to like, all right, what is this? What can I do? How do I get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like just like the Y Combinator, the kind of rope that we gave ourselves a little bit as well is always like, okay, you gotta let people understand blockchain first, right? Before they want to solve the problem on the blockchain.
Right.
So in that sense, like I think that the path towards creating great products, right, is a little bit longer, but at the same time, you're really trying to create products where it differentiates from that Web 2 solution.
All right, that was great. Anything else you guys want to include with this interview? Got a lot of value, got a lot of concepts from the user experience. I think that's one of the biggest things lacking in most ecosystem chats.
Yeah, dude, I think we're good from our side, man. I think we've covered, like, I think the questions you asked, it was good. Like, I like the fact that it wasn't like, you know how you had those questions?
Yeah, we kind of we threw them away.
Right, I was like, okay, introductions, we're going straight into it. Let's get straight into the videos, right?
Oh,
it's quite good, Dan. I mean, I think, dude, like, what would be quite interesting is, because you know how we talk about like incubation, right? We've got 2 hubs already that are doing acceleration. So which means that these projects are already quite mature. And these projects are ready to basically, we're ready to pitch them in front of the VCs, right? And ultimately, I think if you're like an ecosystem, that's what you want, right? You're deving because you want to have like an end goal in sight. Right. And like for us, everyone's incubating. There are 5 hubs that are accelerating. So what would be quite interesting, if you're interested, Dan, is we can like take a meeting with like the Indonesian hub, right? They've got like 17 products already like in acceleration. So it kind of shows you, hey, look, what do you incubate for, right? You incubate to reach product market fit. And then what happens after you reach product market fit? Well, you get to meet the VCs. And this is exactly that second part is what the Indonesian guys are doing, right? And that could be interesting conversation to show like how we close the loop between starting an idea to getting product market fit, getting funded, and getting launched.
Yeah. Do you guys have a hub in Bali? Because that's like all digital nomads there.
We do.
Yeah, we do in Indonesia.
Yeah. I was like not surprising.
The hub leader is this Italian guy, most chill guy you'll ever see, right? And then one of his guys, like, I don't know about Bali things, but they tend to like wear like a really long V-neck kind of
like,
yeah, you must not wear anything.
Humorously long.
All the way down to your belly button. You must not wear anything.
It's like, that's not a V, bro. That's just the open neck shirt.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I think that's the thing, like, because we're quite a young hub, right? We've only been there for like 3 months. And then you see like hubs that's about like 6 or 9 months. They've already started to get projects to like, you know, like get to MVP. And I think that's what excites us, because all this, like, you know, we can talk about all this bullshit about, look, we're incubating, we're doing all this stuff. But until that product really comes out and gets deployed on the chain, like, it means nothing, bro. Like, it just really means nothing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's exciting, because I don't know too much about the behind the scenes of like what happens after a hackathon and other things in other ecosystems. But having this inside look was very educational.
Absolutely, man. Look, thanks for having us, bro. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. This was great. Where can people follow you on social media?
Darren Wong.
They can follow us on Twitter. So how'd I show it? I can't really show it already.
I mean, so I'll put in some text. I'll put in a little graphic if you just want to say it and spell it out.
Yeah.
Dynasty_hub. That's our Twitter handle.
Definitely follow Dfinity. I think Dfinity gives you the global aspect of what's been happening around the world for all the 20 hubs. For the Hong Kong ones, it will be dynasty_ICP on Twitter.
Yes.
Excellent. Awesome. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. And I hope everyone got their full value for today.
Okay.
Oh, I like that.
Uh,
Nice, Dan. Thanks, guys.
Great chat, man.
And that's all the interview we have for today. I really enjoyed talking to them. I enjoy talking to builders in crypto and just trying to get real answers out of them to see how they feel about things, what's going on, and to get a little more perspective about what's going on in certain ecosystems or applications. If there is someone you think I should interview and you can connect them with me, yeah, let's do that. Let's make that happen. And I really enjoy these types of conversations, and maybe I'll make this into a regular thing or a podcast, and I'll also leave a link to Spotify in the description. Yeah, hit the like button on the Spotify podcast too. All right, with that, if you enjoyed everything, have a good day. That's it. That's the outro for today. All right, see ya.